Hey, this is Jeff White, and you're listening to Mike Delivers with Mike Biseglia. I'm down south in Charlottesville, Virginia, and it hasn't been the same here since Mike left for the big city in 2013. For one thing, the local chapter of the Brooklyn Nets fan club had to shut down with Mike's departure, and that was a huge blow to the community. But Charlottesville's loss has been New York's gain, and it's great to keep up with Mike on this terrific podcast. So enjoy.
Welcome inside Mike Delivers from his wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Here's your host, Mike Biseglia.
That's right, this is Mike Delivers, episode number 117. And I'm your host, Mike Biseglia. And I'm coming to you from my wife's kitchen today in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Although I must say, I have spent a lot of time in my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4 this past week. I originally wanted to record this episode outside of the High Good Stuff in Clifton, New Jersey. Yes, that's the name of the restaurant, and it looks tremendous, and I want to try it. I've done 1,576 deliveries, and I have not and will not steal food from anybody's order. I have a 99% satisfaction rating. That means one customer in the last 100 deliveries gave me a thumbs down. I have no idea why, but I do want to find out. You can find this podcast where all major pods are found, like Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and you go on Apple. Please give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. And also, I'm starting to promote the Mike Delivers YouTube page a little bit, putting on some great content there. Basically, also taking the interviews that you hear on the Mike Delivers podcast, and you get to see the video version of those interviews. So head on over to YouTube, type in Mike Delivers, hit subscribe, give one of those plusy sign things. That's always cool. It's greatly appreciated. While we're in the mood of cross-promotion, how about theprosclub.com? That's the website that I co-founded and created. A lot of great content on there. If you're a fan of the Mike Delivers podcast, I highly recommend checking out Bad Weather Fans. My buddy Alex and I do a podcast about the Nets and Knicks, and we talk all things sports. I recommend you check that out. Bad Weather Fans, just wherever you get any of your podcasts, you can find it, just like you did here with the Mike Delivers podcast. And also, please check out the Patreon page. My wife and I have put a lot of work, a lot of effort into that during the pandemic. If you like the Mike Delivers podcast, there's about 40 additional episodes on there of the Mike Delivers pod. New content. This content is also on video, which has bonus features before and after each and every episode. So I highly recommend checking that out. And then the blind food taste test, which my wife and I just love doing. My wife puts her pantyhose around my eyes, shoves food in my face, and I have to guess what I am eating. And not to mention the food battles that we do at the each and every month. For example, at the end of Wing Month, it was a local wing spot versus a national chain in Applebee's. I blindfolded myself, tried the wings, and then I came up with which ones I thought were better. Interview portion of today's episode, I'll be speaking with Zach Gelb. I'll share my stories from the road with Zach. I worked with Zach for, I guess, 9-10 months. He's the host of the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And this was the last show that I produced before moving on from CBS. So Zach comes on. I'll share my stories from the road. Have a fun time doing that with him. And yeah, as I mentioned before, you can find that as well on the YouTube page, the Mike Delivers podcast, which will be coming out shortly. I do feel as if now, as I've done a bit more deliveries in the last couple of weeks, that I truly could be a Uber Eats restaurant consultant. So I've mentioned this a little bit before in the past, but I want to get more into it right here. If you think there's a way for me to monetize this, please reach out to me and let me know. For example, I go to restaurants and I can now see the places that are doing it right, doing it incorrectly, and how I can help them be more efficient at getting the food out, getting the food to the customer, having organization within the restaurant to get the food to me faster. For example, and this is fascinating, if you go to McDonald's, they process the order earlier, so the food will be ready when I get there typically. Now, it's not always ready, it's not 100%, but the idea is that the food is being processed beforehand, which is odd because Burger King and Wendy's, they don't start processing the Uber Eats ticket until I arrive. So, for example, if I do a late night order and I have to go through the drive-thru, and I'm at Burger King and they're putting the order together, people will have to wait behind me because the food's not ready. They'll take the order as if you got there, which I find to be strange why McDonald's is like ahead of the curve and more efficient, and Burger King and Wendy's are not ahead of the game. So you look at that comparison, for example, McDonald's, if you're going to order off Uber Eats, it's going to get to you faster because the driver doesn't have to wait. But I guess then in theory, the food might be colder because it will have been sitting there potentially for a couple of minutes. So that's just another option to weigh yourself, or not weigh yourself after eating this food, but you can weigh in when you're looking at which place do I want to order from on the fast food landscape. But for example, going to these local restaurants, and I can go inside and see what's been wrong, the organization, the communication that has or has not occurred between the people that are behind the kitchen, the people that are working the front desk. And I talked about this with John Sherrill on an episode. Like, sometimes I feel uncomfortable, but I almost want to go in there and be like, hey, you could get the food quicker to me. You could get the drink faster to me if you make this quick switch and move. So I mentioned as a consultant, like TGI Fridays, Applebee's, Friendly's, I could go in there and really help some of these spots. Like for Friendly's, get the ice cream pre-ready, put it in a freezer, and then when I come in, if the food's not ready, you don't have to do the ice cream at the very end. And I will say Friendly's does a good job with that. There are some other places like this local spot in town that will get you the ice cream after the food's put together. Why not do it beforehand, put it in a freezer, save yourself some time? So the point I'm getting at, maybe it's a good or bad thing, but I truly do feel that I have become like an expert in this area where I could go in and help restaurants out, and I could market my services as an Uber Eats extraordinary driver dude who can go out and help people and help restaurants. So I'm just streamlining the whole process. So again, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com, social media, MikeDeliversPod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you think there's a market for this, if you think there's a way that I can be a consultant, that's the word I want to use, a consultant for the different restaurants in the area, you let me know. You hook up Mike Biseglia, and maybe we start a new business here, like the Uber Eats guru consultant that goes to different restaurants and helps them get their shit together. Because it's definitely been weighing on me when I go to places and it's not together. It bothers me, and I think the more and more deliveries I do, I'm getting more bothered by it because I'm starting to see the places that do it right, the places that don't do it right, and I feel like I need to step in and talk to them. So even if this is not a paying gig where I become a consultant, maybe it's just a good way for me to vent and get this off my chest, which might be really healthy for me also. All right, stories from the road time. I've got a guest joining me to share these stories. I'll share them to him. He'll react to them. I'll be chatting with Zach Gelb. He's the host of the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I produced his show for the last 9 months. Had a lot of fun doing it. He's coming on my platform this time. So here's Stories from the Road with CBS Sports Radio's host, Zach Gelb. All right, it's the Mike Delivers podcast, Stories from the Road time, and I am reconnected with an old pal, an old friend, and the host of the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You can hear him on CBS Sports Radio Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. That is Zach Gelb. Zach, how are you doing? How are you?
Mikey B, I'm doing fantastic. And I guess everyone that says we hate each other and that's the reason why you left the show, we could put that notion and lay it to rest, since I'm jumping on and making a return to the highly triumphant return of Zach Gelb on the Mike Delivers podcast.
That's right. I mean, my agent had to talk to your agent to get this booking done. It wasn't as simple as like a text message. It had to be done through agents, but I'm glad we connected, and here we are, Zach. So I'm happy that you're coming on the podcast again. The first time I had John, I was asking you specifically about food delivery, your experience, your takes on Uber Eats. This time, I'm going to share stories that I had from the road, and I want to hear what you have to say about them. All right?
You got it. And by the way, you opened my eyes to tipping on Uber Eats, because if you remember last time, I thought I was like grandfathered in because I was one of the original people in college using Uber and Uber Eats, and they didn't make you tip at first, and that's what they prided themselves on. After talking to a guy that does Uber Eats, now I tip all the time. So I'm not a scumbag anymore when it comes to the tipping world. And I guess when you grow up a little bit, you figure, okay, let's not screw people out of like a few bucks here and there.
If I could change one person for every episode that I do, I'm doing better and helping out the world. So I'm helping out in that cause. Thank you, Zach. Good to hear. All right, first story from the road. Picked up a pizza and delivered a pizza. It was just a local delivery. I want to say 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. And that's from me going to the restaurant, picking it up, and taking it to the said place. And the note for this delivery said, please leave this at the door, contactless delivery, take a photo of the order with my phone, and then I walk away. So I'm dropping it off to this one house, and to the next house over are a couple of little kids just playing. And it turns out that these kids actually went to get the pizza. So they went to pick up the pizza, walked over, picked it up. So far, so good. And I would say these kids, if I had to guess, were 10, 11, or 12 years old. But what caught me off guard is the one kid goes up to pick the pizza, and he's a kid, and he goes, oh, fuck. And my question to you is, if you're a 10, 11, or 12-year-old, do you think that's normal for a kid that age to be saying, oh, fuck, when he's going to pick up a pizza that was delivered by an Uber Eats driver? It seemed a little out of place for me. I have a baby that's 1 month old, but 11 years old, let's say, saying fuck early, right?
I wouldn't say it's that early. I know we live in this like politically correct world where everyone has to be prim and proper and no one should curse. And you're a terrible parent if your kid is dropping an F-bomb at 10, 11 years old. But let's be real. I'm sure you've even dropped a few curse words in front of your new son, Ryan. Now, Ryan is only a month old, so he's not able to really process it. But when you are 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, you hear dad or mom drop an F-bomb over and over again. Then you look at something, the kid probably opened up the pizza box and said, you know what? This isn't pepperoni. They ordered a plain slice tonight. Or, oh, this pizza looks like absolute crap. So he just let out the 4-letter expletive.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was. But I think from my perspective, when I'm driving around and I see these little kids playing, I'm like, oh, all right, here's lunch for these guys. And then to hear the curse word come out, for me, it was jarring just to hear this little kid curse like it was me and you talking shop.
So the jarring thing to me about this is that you just said the 3-4 kids took this pizza. Like, I don't know, you put it outside the house and then 3-4 kids took the pizza. What's jarring to me is, don't you think like mom and dad would get the pizza first and then distribute out the slices? Not just, hey, we're going to throw some stupid pizza on the right in front of the door. And then the 3-4 kids going to walk over like a bunch of animals at night and just start eating like the pizza off the ground. So that was like the weird thing to me. Why didn't they have the parents get it at first? Like if I was you, not that you want to be like a nosy Uber Eats driver, which we all know you are, you probably just end up saying, hey, like, shouldn't your mom or dad or parents, shouldn't they be getting the pizza first because they probably paid for it? And then they probably would have told you if you did step in to F off, because these kids, they got some potty mouths according to yourself.
I know it's a good point, but I think with Uber Eats, it's kind of like the food was the babysitter, right? Like, here's the food. I don't want to deal with this shit. Here's your kids. Take care. But you bring up an excellent point. Like,
do you think that happens now?
Happened?
Right? Like mom and dad, well, I know like these times are different. Maybe they went to an outdoor dining, or I know in New York City, it's 25% capacity. I'm not sure what it is in New Jersey, but maybe these parents went out. They were having like a good Saturday, Sunday, whatever day of the week it was. They trust their kids to be home alone or playing in the streets. Wouldn't be my ideal way of parenting, but that's not my decision there. And maybe they just ordered the pizza and said, okay, like little Johnny, we're going to get you a pepperoni pizza with extra cheese and a well-done pizza. And some creepy guy's going to walk over and deliver it. Don't talk to him and then go get your pizza. And then he was probably just upset with the type of pizza that you guys ordered. Maybe it wasn't from his favorite place. I don't know what he could be cursing about. Or maybe he doesn't like pizza. As a kid, I love pizza. I still love pizza. Sometimes some kids don't like pizza. I have a friend that doesn't like cheese. I think it's like the weirdest thing in the world. How don't you like cheese?
Do you like the well-done pizza? You brought that up here in your little rant. You like well-done pizza?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I order a pizza, it's got to be well done. Like if I'm ordering a plain pie, well done. I think the extra few minutes makes it a better tasting pizza.
Yeah, I'm a well done guy too, which I've become because there's one great spot in Nutley, New Jersey called Ralph's. They do it well done. As an Uber Eats driver, though, I did this pickup a few weeks ago. I think I lost track of time, but the guy's like, yeah, it's gonna be a couple more minutes for this person. It's well done. Then I'm like, oh, come on, get the damn pizza out of here. I want to get on the road. But I understand from that perspective. Like I like it well done too.
So here's what I've learned though in my well done experience. So a local place that I go to, Mario's, when I was living out on Long Island, you're growing up as a kid. If you say well done, and let's say you're 5 minutes late in picking it up, like they say 15 minutes, you give it 20, then it's good, well done, like ready to go just the way you want it. The confusing part is sometimes I'll call in like 2 slices of pizza. I'll be like, give me a buffalo chicken and a plain slice, well done. If I get into the store a little bit earlier than what they told me, then they feel rushed, and then they may not cook it as well done as I like it. Like I like a burnt pizza. I just like it a little extra well done than what your traditional pizza is.
I like the well done tips from Zach Gelb. That's a perfect way to put an end to story number one.
So
thank you.
What I'm saying is, real quickly, I think you put extra pressure on the delivery or the guy inside the store, because he's showing up. He's like, you just want this pizza. Maybe he was going to cook it for 6-7 minutes more, and you maybe only let him cook it for 4 minutes more because he probably felt awkward with you just waiting there saying like, come on, buddy, like hurry up and get me my pizza already.
I can be a very intimidating factor when I walk into an Italian restaurant. I mean, they see me and they're just like, oh boy, get this pizza order right. So Zach, I think you nailed it on that one.
The first time I ever think someone's ever called you intimidating.
First time I've ever done this. I have to say I've done a lot of orders. I've done a lot of deliveries, but this finally happened. Picked up an order from IHOP in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Walked out of the IHOP, picked up my phone, getting ready to swipe the order, to continue to start the process. Foot slipped into the road, and I dropped the bag, and the food came flying down. The container of pancakes, eggs popped open. But it was still in the bag, Zach, okay? It didn't go onto the cement. So I got in the car, kind of put it back together, put the food in, shuffled it together, didn't touch anything, all clean, let me say that, and then was on my way.
Hold on. Wait. You had pancakes? What else? Eggs?
Eggs and bacon.
Bacon. And it did not leave the container.
It did not leave the container. It just popped up and kind of shuffled around a little bit. Did not have to take any of the food, put it back in, but I did have to recontain it. There was a recontainment. There was definitely recontainment.
See, that's the gray area of Uber Eats. That's the problem of Uber Eats. You don't know what people are doing with your food. When I order something, I expect my pancakes, my eggs, my bacon should get to my house the way that they pretty much left the store, not have Mike Delivers drop them, go all over the place, because I don't really buy that they didn't leave the container. You definitely lost like some eggs, or maybe you lost a strip of bacon. If there were chocolate chips on the pancakes or blueberries, maybe they put a little extra on top. Now they're going all over the place. Now the blueberries and the chocolate chips are getting on the eggs and the bacon. That's just too much. You messed up the order. So I'm not expecting you now to go back and then tell the store, hey, I dropped it, because then they're going to look at you like you're a schmuck and make you pay for it out of pocket. So I get it from your end. But as a customer, yes, I probably don't realize it. Once you tell me that, though, then I'm starting to say, maybe I give you a 3.5 star instead of what the normal 5 stars would be. And I don't usually like to give a bad rating on Uber. And I've only given one bad Uber rating, and that was when I was in Miami for the Super Bowl this year. Some guy pretended as if he knew where he was going, and he didn't follow the GPS. And then he dropped me off at a location, or was about to drop me off. And I go, this is not where I'm trying to go. And it was a 8-minute trip that turned into about a 25-30-minute trip. And then that guy gave me attitude, and I was just being very polite and kind, just telling him he messed up.
Right.
So that was the only time I gave someone a 1-star review. But most of the time I will, even if I don't love the order, or I will have some sympathy for the driver and still give him a 5-star review, even when he's not deserving of one. But in that case, you probably get the 5-star review. But in all honesty, if they knew the whole story, maybe they knock you down a peg.
I know. And the horror, Zach, when you drop a bag of IHOP, first of all, because people are doing outdoor dining, everybody saw me. So there was that embarrassment of like,
oh, wow. So people actually saw you.
Oh, yeah. I picked up the bag and ran in my car. I was like, I do not need to be out here and this embarrassment. I had to go in there and put it together. I mean,
walk of shame.
It was the walk of shame leaving IHOP. And I've done other orders in this IHOP where I saw this parking lot is now infamous in my life. I saw somebody puke in this parking lot once. I've told this story on the podcast. Yeah, someone puked in that podcast, and the employees, this is pre-pandemic, and the employees at IHOP got hay and put hay on the cement and started to clean the vomit. So this area is just, I'm cursed. I got to be careful when I'm around this spot. That's the lesson learned here. But the food was okay.
Maybe you're just not made to deliver IHOP. Maybe everything else it's fine, but all the great ones, they have some sort of kryptonite. And maybe for you, it's like Tom Brady, Eli Manning, Mike delivers, IHOP delivery. That does not go well, because then you have elite hands. Like if you have Madden rating and they rated your hands, it would be elite 99.
It's funny.
You'd be in the 99 club. But now, since you go one place and you do a little stumble and a little fumble with the pancakes and the bacon and the eggs, I don't know if you could recover. You've never dropped anything else. It's only been at that IHOP.
Only one time. I think that's really funny though. If we did Madden ratings for Uber Eats drivers, like interpersonal skills 87,
response time
driving response time 72, care of food 41, like
smell of car, because smell of cars is a big thing. Yeah, you could tell if someone brings food and it smells a little funky. You could tell that their car probably smells like absolute dog crap, you would think. Now, I'm just going to say one thing real quickly.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the podcast. I don't want any of this being edited, all right? Because the last guest you had on, he made it clear, no editing. And I think that is great advice. Now, I didn't tell you how to Patreon. I didn't tell you how to do podcasting. But I will say, I agree with Taz, no editing.
Did an Uber Eats pickup, Zach, and for the first time in my life, I headed over to Secaucus, New Jersey. No, I've been to Secaucus a bunch, but I got to the MLB network, NHL network for a drop-off. So I was really excited. First off, like maybe a former player is going to come out and I'll drop off their food. And it said Harris R. So my first thought was like maybe Harold Reynolds' real name is Harris.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I had my wife Google it. She goes, no, it's Harold. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not Harold Reynolds coming out. Just ended up being some guy who knows what he does. You and I know how this works. There's a bajillion people that are working at this place to make it run. It's not just the 4 people you see on air. There's a lot going on back there. But of course, I opened up and I saw him and I was like, hey, blah, I used to work at CBS Sports Radio. I've got this background. There might be somebody, we have a mutual friend. We might have a mutual friend. I know somebody that works there. This person wanted nothing to do with what I was saying. Didn't even smile. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Took his food and left. Was he in the wrong not being more social with me as I was trying to bond with him, letting him know my previous CBS Sports Radio life and my background there, my history, and that we might potentially have a mutual friend? Was he in the wrong for not taking that more seriously, or did I step over the line and should have dropped off the food and moved on my way?
I think you need to assess the situation in that case. There's a lot of times as a passenger in an Uber car, or even when someone's dropping me off Uber Eats, where there's probably less conversation when you're dropping off Uber Eats, that you just want to get from point A to B. Now, I'm not against having conversations with the Uber driver. I had a great conversation with an Uber driver on, I think it was Friday night. But you got to make sure that it's the passenger, in my opinion, that initiates the conversation. Once the Uber driver, other than the traditional hello, how are you doing, how's your day, once the Uber driver starts telling you about his entire life story, then it kind of gets a little bit awkward as the customer. Now, sometimes if it's an entertaining story, then maybe I get intrigued and have a little conversation. But if this guy's just coming out of his shift or, getting a lunch break or whatever it is, and he comes downstairs and wants, I don't know, like his burger and fries, and Mike Biseglia comes running up to him. Hey, we may know someone. I know this person. I used to work here. We maybe a little connection. You're trying to play Jewish geography with the guy. I would be like, hey, just shut up and get me my burger. And I want to eat my fries before they get soggy and cold.
Yeah, you're right. Lesson learned. I was just all geeked out, man. Like I've never been there. And I was like, I don't know. I just wanted him to know I had a history in this, and like I could feel your pain. And this was whatever night it was, and you're working
his pain. What happens if he loves his job? What happens if it was an executive? How do you know the guy's miserable?
I meant like it was 9:00 on a Tuesday, and I could just see in his eyes he did not want to be working behind the scenes of Yankees Rays game number whatever, and that he wanted to go home.
Maybe he was just hungry. Maybe he was just starving.
That's fair.
And he wanted to get his food, and then he's sitting here and he has to deal with you just asking him all these questions in the world, and he's probably thinking to himself once again, like, just shut up. I want to eat my burger and just go away.
Got to pick up in a McDonald's, and this McDonald's not in the best area in the world. So, but whatever, I did it. It was a good paying job. I wanted to take it. Go into the McDonald's. There's a homeless man waiting outside asking for money. And first of all, I'm on the clock working. So like giving money feels tough. So I didn't do it. I went in and I got the order at McDonald's. And then I don't know, I was feeling sympathetic at the time. I was like, you know what? Screw it. Gave the guy $1. He looks at me and goes, "That's it?"
That's obnoxious.
I couldn't believe it. So I then walked to my car. He then walks over to me, apologizes for saying that's it, and says, "Thank you for taking the $1." Zach, I was shocked that a homeless person was upset that I gave this said person extra money. I was stunned by it.
When I was living in North Philadelphia as a college student at Temple University, that would happen all the time. And I had no money then. I was a college student. I was just trying to buy some natty or something. And that would be like the beer quality at the time. But you would go into like a 7-Eleven and you get like a bag of chips or some ice cream bar or a Gatorade, whatever it was. And you walk out and every single time, "Hey, do you got $1? You got a few?" And then like some days you want to go, "Okay, I'm going to give this person $1." And then they go, "Oh, that's it?" And I'm like, "That's it?" I'm like, that's like all the money I have in my wallet, dude. So yeah, I now though, what I learned later on in college, you just say, "Oh, I only got plastic. I only got a credit card. Sorry about that. I have no cash on me."
I mean, truth be told, and I think this is why I did it, and this is kind of pulling back the curtain, maybe losing the integrity a little bit of this podcast. But I was like, let me give him $1 and see if it adds any interesting stories from the road, which it did. It helped out because he was pissed.
They didn't have good intentions.
Maybe bad intentions.
Didn't have good intentions.
Maybe that was my karma, because this was not about helping him. This was about helping this podcast and trying to find something funny that would happen from it, which I think it did. I think it made a nice little story from the road. Nothing insane, but still worthy of bringing up on the podcast. But yeah, my intentions were not there. It was truly about doing. Now, I'll just be completely frank and honest. It was about doing something that I thought was good for this podcast.
Okay. Well, can I just ask one follow-up question?
Please.
Well, even if you said no, I was going to ask it anyway.
I know.
My follow-up question here. Let's say you had an order in your car and there was something expendable, like you had some fries or you had some mozzarella sticks. Would you give a fry and a Maz stick there? And the person that you're delivering to wouldn't know, but it would give the guy some food. Have you ever thought of that?
I have not, but I like where your brain's going. It's sick. It's sadistic. It's incredible. Moving forward, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take food from a previous order that's sitting in the car because the person didn't get the the executive decision on Uber Eats or whatever the hell that's called. And I'm going to just share the wealth. I'm like the Uber Eats Robin Hood. I'm going to take food from a person and just give it out to the community. We'll see how long I can last as an Uber Eats driver.
I don't think you will last all that long because if you're an intelligent person ordering, you would know, okay, I'm ordering a thing of Maz sticks. There should be about 6 Maz sticks here. Or I'm ordering French fries. If you generally know probably 20 French fries come in the order, whatever it is. If you look and you go, there's 16, 15, you go, either Mike started to eat them or Mike maybe gave them away. I would not think you gave them away. I would think more so that you ate them.
Shame on me because I did not check the ticket receipt and I forgot an item. But the item I forgot, it was a can of soda. It was a Pepsi. I felt really bad about it. I got to the person's door. I should say this. I didn't know I forgot it until I got to her door and she was like, "Where's the Pepsi?" And I was like, "Oh, crap. I don't have the soda." So I ended up dropping off her food at a Red Roof Inn, actually in Secaucus. So I dropped, I was at the hotel and I went down to the lobby and just from outside, I said, do you have a soda machine? So I went to the soda machine and I got her 2 20-ounce Pepsis from the soda machine, used my own cash, went back up to her floor, gave her the sodas. She was not thankful and she did not tip me. Do you think I deserve a tip in that scenario? Because yes, I did screw up the order, but I made it up by doubling up. I mean, really a 1 soda can. I got her 2 20-ounce Pepsis. I tripled her sodas. Did she owe me "Oh, that's very sweet. That's so kind for you to think like that" / a tip? or still being upset, even though I made that gesture, which I thought was going above and beyond as an Uber Eats driver?
So here's what I think probably happened. She probably just took out her frustration on you, when in reality, even though you didn't check that everything was in the order, the place where you picked it up from, they should have made sure that everything was in the bag, because you're just the guy that transports the food from said store to said person. So if I order, I don't know, a cheeseburger with like a seltzer or something, I expect that when you go to pick it up, and you probably think when you go pick it up that that's what's going to be there.
Sure.
And yeah, so I guess she was probably annoyed, but I would say that you were just the person that had to take the punch, when in reality she was probably more so annoyed with the stores, is what I would say.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this soda. I'm going to be a true mensch here. I mean, what Uber Eats driver goes buys sodas for the person, brings it up, gives it to her? I mean, I was just like, I was just ready for my moment to shine. Like, you know what? I made a mistake, but I responded from it. I grew from it. And I had the intuition to go down and get some Pepsis and bring it upstairs. Nothing. I'll be honest, I was disappointed, Zach. I was very disappointed.
Well, I've been in situations before where people forget things in your order. And like a soda is a little insignificant to me. You know, It wasn't as if you forgot a General Tso's chicken or something like that.
Right, forgot the food.
But when the person comes back up to the door, it's kind of, I already saw this person. I don't want to see him again. Like, yeah, you messed up. Just give me my freaking soda and then get away from me. And that's it. So I can understand where the frustration is. But with your response time and how quick as it was, with under 5 minutes, she has to know, or he has to know, that you didn't drive back to the store. You went out of your own way to get a soda. So like, I would kind of respect it and say, you know, yeah, thanks, appreciate it. And then, you know, that was about it. You got to say thank you. I would
say thank you.
Even if it's an obnoxious thank you. Even if it was, yeah, whatever, buddy. Like, thanks. Like, get out of here. Bye.
Couldn't agree more with you, Zach. Couldn't agree more. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on the Mike Delivers podcast. Thank you for listening to my stories from the road. And maybe one day you and I will do Uber Eats together. I think that would be a lot of fun. We could hit the road and do that.
I would 100% be in. I would. Now, would I just go on like your journey with you, and we would just pick up foods and deliver them?
That's it.
Okay.
Just think about it.
I may get a little hungry and steal some food, so that could put your rating down.
I didn't see it. I won't talk about it. Zach, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, Zach, for coming on the Mike Delivers podcast and letting me share my stories from the road. Doing more deliveries, there are more stories to get to. Couldn't get to them all, so we'll save them for next week. Also have some good stories from Jose Arellano. He's a big fan of the Mike Delivers podcast. He's also a delivery driver himself. He shared some stories with me that I will share with you next week. And that brings me to, if you want to share your stories from the road, if you're a delivery driver that listens to this podcast, feel free to reach out to me, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com. That way you can, tell me your story. You can email me an audio portion that you put together, and I can share it on this podcast. Reach out to me. I love to hear different stories from different delivery drivers, because there's so many great experiences out there from everybody. I have my own, but it's a never-ending pool of content, because deliveries are always going on. They're always consistently happening, especially right now as things have changed in this country. So let me know. You can also reach out via social media, Mike Delivers Pod, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Let me know your stories from the road, or just something you want to express about the podcast. Please share it with me, and I will mention it on a future episode, or if there's something about the podcast you just want to tell me. Don't forget, Thursday, episode 118 drops. My wife and I are trying healthy foods from food places that have foods that are bad for you month. Try saying that a few times out loud. We try Boston Market, which has a good story behind it, which I think people will be interested to hear. So that comes out on Thursday. Special thanks to Zach Gelb for hopping on the Mike Delivers podcast. Sharing my stories from the road was a lot of fun. Of course, the music that you hear is from The Beautiful Noise. This podcast would not be the same without them. It is the soundtrack to the pod. Thank you so much for all of your incredible music and helping this podcast become what it is. This has been episode 117. We'll see you Thursday for 118, where I try some chicken. Some healthy chicken. from Boston freaking Market.